So it's a new day, and it's all dry now and everything. We went to watch Nosferatu, which was awesome. I recommend it. Now I need to wet it all down. So I'm wetting this down because the cement will only bond to wet. Look at this. See how it's all coming right out the center? It goes back that way over here. See, it flushes, comes right out the center. Now I'm going to use my palette knife to kind of get up into some of these areas that are a little bit challenging. I'm just laying out shapes still. So now we're going to get rid of the parts that we don't need as we lay out these shapes while it's still wet and relatively easy to work. Starting to see the outline of a jawline starting to form here. This is going to become the hair flowing. This is the high spot. So everything can flow down. And everything can flow down this way. You can see there's a hole right here. So the water can go either direction. It's not going to get caught in that corner and seep. That's really important. We're thinking about the water flow all the way through this. All right, I think this is all for the mortar mix. We're going to let that harden up for just a little while, maybe give it 10 minutes. It doesn't take long at all. But that'll become the base for the next mixture, which is going to be rapid set cementall. This is the cementall. You can see how fine that powder is. This is going to give me a really smooth finish. I'm just going to smooth all this stuff onto here. This is going to become the smooth, silky layer. And then we can do details on top of it or by cutting into it as we go. I'm trying to press it into the gaps, so I'm not just pouring it on here, but I'm pushing it into the little gaps between the mortar. If you imagine the mortar zoomed in really close, you'd see all these tiny little holes between the grains of sand. So I'm really trying to push this into those holes. Got a lot of haters on my video yesterday telling me I don't know what I'm doing and this isn't going to work. You should have just used caulk on it. And when you do projects, especially if you do anything different the way normal people do it, you're always going to have people telling you you're doing it wrong or it's not going to work. And sometimes they'll be right. Sometimes what you're doing won't work. You have to be okay with that. It's okay for something not to work. But the more you do things that other people don't think will work, the more you kind of get a sense for what will work and what won't work. And so I kind of go into a project like this with a confidence level. Just from my past experience, I was about 85% confident this was going to work. The first time I did something like this, I was probably 40% confident, but I knew the possibility was there of it working, and that was enough for me to try it. It's not a bad idea to go after things if there's a probability of it working and you can learn something and you have the time. You may teach yourself a new skill. You may teach the world a new skill. You may have some skill that no one has ever done before. You know, there had to be a first person to tile a tub. And there was a first person that thought, you know these flat pieces of ceramics? What if I glued these with some cement? I could make a whole bathtub out of this. Somebody had to do that first. And now everybody's like, oh, this is just the way it's done. Well, any way that something is done is not the way it's always been done. There always had to be a first person to do something. And there's nothing that says you can't be the first person to do something. There's nothing that says I can't be the first person to do something. And if the way that you do it works out better than the way it's been done before, or works out in a neat way, other people may do it that way too in the future. And that's great. And that's wonderful. And that's how our world gains new skills, is by somebody deciding, you know what? Yep, it's been done that way before, but what if I did it this way? So now I'm going to lightly brush and try to break off any little flakes and areas with the detail like the hair here. and anywhere else. I'm just going to kind of rub it down ever so slightly. My hand's just a little bit wet. Then we're going to do our final layer, which is going to be our detail layer, where we get to all the details we want to have in this. So we increased her size there a little bit, put some pants on her, made some waves going out into her fin, and gave her a little bit more hair. I also gave her a nose job. We're wanting to go very low on the detail in the face. I don't want to get into the uncanny valley where it starts to look too close, because then it'll actually get worse. So we'll keep it kind of abstract. Let your brain fill in the details. But I think we are most of the way done with the carving. We'll clean all this up and get ready for the paint and the seal. I want to borrow some colors from that. This is just some acrylic craft paint. The cheap stuff, but it should soak into the concrete. Then we're going to do some fillers and stuff, of course. I think this is a little too blue. We're going to come back and make it some green. Let's try it in green and see if I like that a little better. Almost a little too light. I think I need to go darker green. Sometimes that's how it goes. When you're not supposed to just succeed immediately. It's more rewarding if we fight our way to the end, making mistakes and correcting them as we go. That kind of feels like mermaid tail green there. I think we can make that color work. Now to emphasize the tail with some more color. Just going to stretch some blue across, kind of like that, starting off. That's not going to be enough color though. We need a lot more color for this mermaid tail, I feel like. Like it's your mermaid. Make it the way you want it to be. It's not like anybody's going to pull up a real life mermaid and come and compare it, right? Ooh, that color's bright. Let's do some of that. With the real bright ones, we don't want to go too nuts. But if we go too heavy, if it gets too bright and vibrant, we can always come back and paint it again. That's a loud color though, isn't it? Doing some skin tones on it now. I asked folks on the live if I should paint it colors or paint it all gold, just a solid gold color. And painting it with color one, what do you think? Are you liking this, or should I have done it in just solid gold? Let me know what you think in the comments. All right, now we need to decide what color hair she should have. I'm feeling like maybe a redhead. Next step, polyacrylic. We're going to coat the whole thing in this. It'll make it waterproof and seal everything up properly. Time to start water sealing. We're going to use polyacrylic. This stuff is amazing. And this one is a satin. If I don't like it, I can always go over it with a gloss. I'm just going to use a small craft brush like I've been using this whole time. I do want to be careful where I get this, because it is hard to clean up if I let it dry. And I'm going to coat it on here liberally. Now it's all sealed and ready for a shower. The water will flow down this way, and it'll flow down that way, and it'll come out right through the legs here. You see that hole? So all the water is channeled right to the center of the tub. Any water that gets into this corner channels down behind the hair this way and right out this way into the tub. So splash out that goes this way will hit onto this fin, and that comes down below the tub, so it'll come right into the tub this way too.